All right, good morning. My name is Jonathan Lord. I am the Flagler County Emergency Management Director. Just to provide a quick update on Hurricane Milton this morning. As of 8 o'clock this morning, parts of Flagler County are under an evacuation order, and we do have one of our shelters open at Rimfire Elementary School. Hurricane Milton has regained strength again as a Category 5 storm again, and is still expected to impact the west coast of Florida within the next day as a major hurricane. It'll weaken from a Category 5 state. If you looked on the internet or online or on TV, you'll notice that it looks like we are outside of the cone. The storm hasn't really shifted that much. The cone has just gotten skinnier as we're closer to our impacts, but it does not change the things we've been talking about for the last few days. The impacts expected here in Flagler County are basically the same. We are under a hurricane warning, a storm surge warning, as well as a flood watch. We are expecting tropical storm force winds this evening through Thursday, as well as a potential for hurricane force winds. So please keep that in mind. That's why we're under the hurricane warning. Just because we are not in the cone, that cone only shows where the eye of the storm may be. The way the storm is interacting with a weather system to the north will very likely create those conditions where we'll see the tropical storm force winds for sure. And those high-end tropical storm force winds can be as high as 73 miles an hour. So that's nothing to ignore. Also, additionally, again, as I said earlier, we are not immune from seeing hurricane force winds from this storm. We're also still expecting to see another 8 to 15 inches, depending on where you are in Flagler County. The higher levels are going to be in the southern end of the county. Another 8 to 15 inches on top of the almost 6 inches we've already seen since Saturday, on top of the over the foot we saw about a week or so ago. So our ground is extremely saturated. That plus the winds is going to make it very easy for trees to fall over. There's going to be plenty of power outages, I'm sure, and we may see trees fall into homes. But our emergency services folks are ready to take care of any issues that do pop up. Storm surge. We are still expected to see 3 to 5 feet of storm surge along the Atlantic coast as well as the intracoastal waterway. Additionally, we're expected to see 2 to 4 feet of surge along Crescent Lake and Dead Lake. So please keep in mind too, on the western side of the county, some of that water elevation may actually occur after the storm has passed. It may occur for the next few days as the St. Johns River basin fills up from counties to our south. We are continuing sandbag operations. I know the city of Palm Coast as well as the Flagler County sites there's 3 different sites there or 4 different sites, are all running operations at least till noon today or until supplies run out. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we do have an evacuation order that is in place. I'm going to read off some of the areas included in the evacuation order. Our original order that we shared last night that took effect at 8 o'clock this morning was the entire Barrier Island from the St. Johns County line to Volusia County. So that's Marineland all the way through to Flagler Beach. On the mainland part of the county, in the area south of Road 100, specifically the neighborhoods along John Anderson Highway and Palm Drive, Bulow RV Park and Homes on Old Kings Road, in Polo Club West Sweet Bottom Plantation area, homes that are on Lexington Court, Ashland Way, or back up directly to the Bulow Creek. North of State Road 100, these specific neighborhoods only. Neighborhoods off of Lambert Avenue, any properties in Marina del Palma that back up directly to the Intracoastal Waterway or Yacht Basin, any properties off of North or South Riverwalk Drive in Palm Coast Plantation, as well as any properties within Princess Place. That was our original order that we've been sharing for the last couple of days. It took effect at 8 o'clock this morning. In addition, as of 8 o'clock this morning, we've added the following areas because of the increased rainfall effects and our concern that those communities may get cut off as the rain comes down this evening. All properties directly bordering Crescent Lake and Dead Lake, plus the properties in the Bull Creek Campground area on Park Place Avenue, Canham Street, Cheryl Elaine Drive, Lisa Court, Johnny Court, and Matt Court. It's a little neighborhood just by the Bull Creek Campground. Additionally, all properties in Flagler Estates, as well as Methbin Road, which runs just south of Flagler Estates. And Flagler Estates runs up to the St. Johns County line in the northwest part of the county. And then in the most southern part of the county, properties off of Strickland Road, also known as Strickland Durance Road, which includes Strickland Durance Road, Shed Lane, Natalie's Lane, Dillon Trail, Boyce Lane, Lola Lane, Wassack Lane, and Carter Trail. It's another small neighborhood that's a little more isolated in our community. We already know of some flooding over some of those streets in those areas we just mentioned, so we want to go ahead while the roads are still passable to include those areas in the evacuation. While they are not typically impacted by storm surge, we know that there will be flooding that may cut off those areas. We encourage those folks to also leave the area, seek shelter with friends or family or hotel or motel. And if that's if you're not able to do that, then you are also very welcome in our public shelter that is now open at Rimfire Elementary as of 8 a.m. For our residents seeking public shelter, on our website, we have a list of things that you should be bringing with you to the shelter. That shelter is a special needs capable shelter, a general population shelter, and is also a pet-friendly shelter. So we offer all the services in that one facility. We do have a backup shelter on standby, and if we need to announce that shelter, we will, but we don't want to confuse folks by giving the name and they go to the wrong school. So we do have another school on standby if the current shelter starts filling up too much. That being said, I'll turn it over to Sheriff Staley.
Thank you, Jonathan. To the community, first I want to start with the shelters. The Sheriff's Office will ensure that that is a safe environment for anyone that comes there. Anyone that comes in will be checked to make sure that they are not a fugitive and not wanted, not a sex offender. If you are a predator, you are not allowed at the Rimfire shelter. If you are designated under Florida law as a sex predator, and you need shelter, you need to go to the Sheriff Perry Hall Inmate Detention Facility. That's the county jail on Justice Lane, and we will accommodate you in the lobby of that building. You've probably seen it before, I would guess. As far as the curfew, there will be a curfew that goes in effect at 7 p.m. tonight until 7:30 a.m. Thursday morning. And that will continue every night until it is rescinded by the county. We're hoping it will just be one night, but that will depend on the flooding and any damage that the policy group will discuss and then decide. To the community, if you have left your community, your home, or your business, obviously, we will still have patrols out there to protect your community, and we're working in partnership with the two city police departments, Flagler Beach and Bunnell Police Departments. So we will do everything we can to ensure that your property is continued to be safe when you return. To the criminals that think they can prey on our community, just remember during times of disaster, we have extra deputies on patrol. Our real-time crime center is up and functional, and we have lots of cameras in this county. My suggestion is don't try it. If you try to prey on this community, you will ride out the storm at the Green Roof Inn or the county jail. Might be a very safe and secure place, but it's not going to be very comfortable for you, and you don't want to deal with the repercussions of those kind of charges during an emergency. So stay out of Flagler County if you think you can commit a crime, because we're going to still get you. We'll get through this together. Our high water vehicles and our shallow water boats have been pre-staged. Our team is ready and trained, and know that we're here to serve the community. Remember, if you have questions on the hurricane, you need to call the county call center. Save 911 for true emergencies. We're going to be very busy in the communication center, and we don't need to answer questions like, why is my cable TV not working? Believe it or not, those are some of the calls that we get in the comm center. Call Charter or Spectrum, whoever it is. Don't call 911 to ask us those questions. Leave those lines open for true emergencies. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. And for those looking for continuing updates about the storm, our website is flaglercounty.gov/emergency. That's flaglercounty.gov/emergency. Or you can always call our call center. It's open 24/7 for the time being. That phone number is 386-313-4200. That's 386-313-4200. And we have county personnel there able to answer any question that you may have. And for those of you that use social media, you can follow us at Flagler EOC. That's one word, Flagler EOC, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'll open up to any questions for the Sheriff or I.
Sure, just a couple of clarifying questions on the curfew. The winds are not going to pick up really seriously here until after midnight. So tonight might look very kind of normal. Some businesses might still be open. Is your curfew applying across the county or just in the evacuation zones? And if it is across the county, what are the penalties that you intend?
Sure. So it's a good question, Pierre. The emergency order as signed for a curfew is countywide. Look, our deputies will use common sense, but don't be surprised if you're driving around or walking around after 7 p.m. and you're not on your own property, that you're going to encounter a deputy sheriff to ask you why you're out. And if you have a legitimate reason, there are some exceptions in the emergency order. To and from work, for example, first responders, utility companies, returning home from work, those kind of things are exceptions. And our deputies will use common sense to that. But you're likely going to encounter. Remember, the roads are already wet, so it's not just that we want to protect the property that people own and their homes and their businesses from people trying to prey on our community, but we also want you to be safe. Roads are wet, even though we don't have a lot of wind yet. The ground is already soaked from prior storms, and it's likely the trees will fall. And so you could be driving down the road very innocently and a tree fall, and the next thing you know, you're in the hospital because a tree fell on your car. So, you know, there are things like that that can occur that you need to think about. So that's the purpose of it.
And then who has authority over the Hammock Dunes Bridge?
Well, I'll let Jonathan answer that.
So the Hammock Dune Bridge is a government-owned bridge. It's owned by the Dunes Community Development District, which is an independent city-like government. So that is who has the ultimate authority. They, out of normal practice, and we spoke to them yesterday or the day before, they've already lifted tolls on the bridge so there's not an issue with people going on or off of the island for evacuation purposes or for other legitimate purposes. The other thing I kind of want to mention too, we've had a lot of questions on social media or emailed into our call center. People want to know, well, when's the latest I can go to the shelter? Even though winds may not be fully up to speed, we're going to start seeing storm bands run through this evening. So honestly, if you're going to be going to the shelter, make sure you get there by the time curfew is starting. That's probably the best time to use. It's an easy time to remember. If you're going to the shelter to seek shelter, be there by 7 p.m. So you have all day today. It's not going to be horrible. The first part of the day, it's going to be rainy, obviously, and you might start seeing some winds start to build. But if those are seeking shelter at the shelter, please go there no later than 7 p.m. today. If you need a ride to the shelter because you do not have your own transportation, you can call our call center at 386-313-4200, and Flagler County Transit will make sure they come pick you up. If you're going to do that, though, please try to do that before noon so we can make sure that we have time to come get you before nightfall is honestly the game plan there. Additionally, for those that are seeking shelter elsewhere, we really urge that folks, if you're going to shelter friends or family or in a hotel or motel, that you would do so as of yesterday. Some people may not have done that and now want, maybe rethinking that. Go ahead and leave this morning. It's okay, and go to whatever your evacuation plan is. But same token, if you're going to do that, make sure you're doing that before nightfall, which is the same time when curfew is really kicking in.
Those
Yes,
people who have evacuated in Flagler County, is there any particular sign they should wait for before going to check on their home after the storm?
Yeah, we'll let the community know. We'll put out a press release. We'll put it on social media. We'll put it on the webpage that conditions are clear for. We use the term reentry. What reentry means is conditions are clear to go back to your neighborhoods. Those that are in the shelter, the shelter staff will let them know. We tell the shelter staff tell the folks in the shelter. But we'll make sure we put out a press release that conditions are generally safe. It does not mean after the storm there isn't a neighborhood that has to be blocked off. For example, with some of our previous storms, or unfortunately many of our previous storms, chunks of A1A went missing. Hopefully it doesn't happen this time. Those areas had to be blocked off because people can't drive down the road or cause a problem there. So that could happen anywhere in our county. There could be a road that's washed out. State Road 100, right by the 100 bridge over US 1, unfortunately has a little river that likes to appear there almost every single storm crossing the road. There is a very good chance that road would have to get closed off temporarily until that flow of water dies down. So localized neighborhood closures are very common in events like this. So just because we say it's generally okay to be back out in the community within the confines of the curfew, obviously, it does not mean that a particular neighborhood is safe to go into. So you may see law enforcement saying you can't go there. You may see barricades blocking off a neighborhood. That is truly for your safety. So please don't go around things. It's because something is not safe in that area. and that's why we put those barriers up.
And kind of come off the Hammock Dunes Bridge, is there any chance that State Road 100 be closed just due to high winds or anything like that?
We will announce when it's not safe to be on the roads through our social media and press release like that. But in general, we will not be closing roads just because of the winds. We'll just announce it's not safe to be on the roads. That is inclusive of every road. When we make that announcement, that is inclusive of every road in the county, including any bridges, whether it's the coastal bridges or bridges we have on the western side of the county.
That's what I was going to address because Flagler Beach City Commission passed a resolution. It's not accurate, quite frankly. Don't mean to throw you under the bus, but while the sheriff does have some emergency powers, that is not the way I operate as a sheriff. That we have a policy committee for disasters, and that's the way I operate and for policy decisions like that. Like Jonathan said, there are times that the bridges are up in the air in gusts of winds. And remember, you're driving a car and a 70-mile gust that you're not expecting hits you, pretty dangerous. And first responders aren't going to be able to come and rescue you if you're dangling off the bridge because you were foolish enough to try to drive over the bridge. So the time to leave and evacuate a barrier island is before the tropical storm with high gusts arrive. Go to a shelter. You have lots of choices for friends, hotels, and then Rimfire Elementary, not during it. So make good decisions and everybody will get through this just fine. It's when you make bad decisions and then realize it's a bad decision and try to recover from it that then you create a problem not only for yourself but for first responders. And we're not going to risk injury and death to a first responder because an individual chose to make a bad decision. We'll get to you as soon as we can, and we have the resources and the skill to do it, but Mother Nature plays in that, and we're not going to risk our staff.
Are there any other questions? All right, so just in closing, I just also want to share, here in Flagler County, as well as many other counties in Florida, when it comes to disasters, natural or man-made, or whatever you are, we work as one team, regardless of the municipal jurisdiction, state government, county governments, all of the governments, the sheriff's office, all the other constitutional officers. We really do function as a unified team, because at the end of the day, when a disaster is hitting our community, what's on the side of your vehicle, your truck, or on your shirt does not really matter. We are all here to help our community. We have an amazing partnership. That's what I love about our community. It's all done as a partnership, including volunteer groups that come out and join us as part of this fight to make sure we can make it through whatever disaster is thrown in our community. So it's I think something every Flagler County resident and business should be very proud of, that we really have an amazing team that comes together of hundreds, if not thousands of people to help make sure our community is taken care of. So that being said, we thank you all very much for being here and tuning in.
Emergency Operations Center in Tallahassee, Florida. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is an audio check from the State Emergency Operations Center. What's your levels, Freddie? They're saying it's hot. Testing. Are you staying in the green? You make sure you're in the green. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is an audio check from the State Emergency Operations Center in Tallahassee, Florida. Check to see if you're in line or mic level. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm what? Okay. This is an audio check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's that X-line guy. Oh, sorry. Oh. Testing. Okay. Kill podium mics. Put up tone.